They heard a sound coming from the air outside the door. Everyone armed themselves, watching to see what would appear, while Lindsay was calmly looking at his watch. Then he pulled out 3 cards and placed a feast on the table. Man, he started eating. Obviously, everyone in that room had been starving for a day and was drooling. Yishu swallowed hard, asked where he got that food, and if they could have a little. Our boy smiled, saying it looked like she had fallen into his trap. He said that to get a little of that, she'd have to help him. Everyone was still excited, but the queen in the tight said to just tell her what he wanted. While she was already afraid, he asked for exactly what you're thinking. He showed her a paper and said he wanted all the medicines listed there. Slightly excited, she asked if he really just wants that. He says, yes, unless she's looking to offer something more. She says obviously not, and she's going to collect everything now. The 2 guys are mechanics and he quickly gives them a list of things he wants them to produce by 6 a.m. tomorrow. He hands over the items they'll need and tells them that what they'll receive in food will depend on what they produce. Obviously, he needed to be cautious, so he activates the watchful eye. The guy's inventory was packed with items. He still had 22 days worth of experience to reach level 6. He had 24 hours left to complete the mission, so he decided to rest a little. With that, Mike fell. The next day, he calmly woke up. The others obviously hadn't slept at all, spending the entire night producing what he had asked for. Our boy praised everyone, saying they had done a great job. The doctor patted the nurse on the shoulder who looked almost dead from exhaustion. He handed a card to each of them, saying that now they would meet to fight. Yes, he was thrilled. She thought that when they finished, he was going to kill everyone, so she already had an escape plan. Apparently, he wasn't as cruel as she had imagined. Start to tell your girl, but he's actually worse than you think. She then asked how to use the card and he realized that no one really knew what to do in this world yet. He decided to help her a bit more as a favor for everything she did in the past life. He showed her the system and how there's an option to use the card to make everything appear. She saw that and got all excited. With that, everyone activated their cards and began to feast. Seeing how lost she still was, he decided to give some tips just in case she might be useful in the future. He told everyone to flee from the place after noon. That's because by then, he would have killed all the zombies. He reminded them not to forget the time. He actually told them to be careful since there were a lot of zombies outside. However, he said she should worry a little more about herself. When he stepped outside, indeed, it was full of zombies and it was a horde nearby. But after a whole night of rest, he was ready. He struck the first zombie and dropped a fishing rod. He didn't let the body hit the ground, trying to attract as few zombies as possible. And with that, he started cleaning up the corridor. It didn't take long before he was heading toward the door. He opened the list and wondered how the zombies were pulling this off while being dead. The poor zombie was just chilling in the bathroom. But as soon as our boy approached, it turned and started running. However, with its pants down, it fell to the ground like an idiot. Lindsay finished off another one. You have to be careful because in the gym, people had more trained bodies, so it was common for them to also be stronger. He then saw the women's restroom. He approached cautiously, worried there might be someone alive in there. And he snapped back to reality, thinking it's the apocalypse and it didn't matter if he liked the women's restroom or not anymore. He slowly started entering. He didn't find anyone at first and began checking each stall. Until in one, he heard the sound of 2 creatures. When he opened it, he saw that the romance had continued even after death. It was a shame, but he hadn't ended that connection. They sensed the attack, but easily missed. There was a bottle on the ground and once again, they tripped over it. With that, he finished off another 2. This guy isn't quite right in the head, even started taking pictures of the couple. He strangely seemed to recognize them. It seems that in the past life, they always hunted together and had a kind of synergy that made them unbeatable, but it was a shame that this time they died on the 3rd day without accomplishing anything. As always, it was time to check the loot box. It was a fusion card that allowed him to combine 2 items to create a new one, possibly even upgrading to silver rank. He then looked back and saw a strange light coming from one of the stalls. He approached it and saw a chest floating above a pentagram. That was the wild chest, and he would need to stay there for 30 seconds to open it. He waited for a bit and a green apple appeared. He started praying that it would be some kind of strength or agility item. He checked the description and the item increased his physique stat by 2 attribute points, which was basically health. He wouldn't prefer agility, but at least it wasn't that bad. He washed the apple and ate it right away. Excited that in this life, he's eating much better than in the past. He left the restroom thinking that this place was giving him a lot of good stuff. Outside, he encountered another crowd. Man, this time he really saw the whole crowd. He moved to a corner to avoid attracting all the zombies at once. As soon as 2 of them approached, he whipped them in the neck. 2 more came and they went down too. Man, this kid is making it rain with these creatures. He's spending all the resources he gets on strength. Inside a box, he found a lion bracelet. It gave a 10% chance to intimidate a person for 1 second, causing her movements to freeze. The system then showed all the equipment slots and explained what could go into each one. He immediately equipped the lion bracelet. Slowly, he resumed walking through the gym, casually sipping a juice. That's when he opened a room full of zombies, or maybe dead doctors, I'm not sure. He comes to the conclusion that based on the injuries and the way the disaster was caused, it could only have been a zombie boss. A type of creature much stronger than others at the same level, and one that usually feeds on humans. In the absence of humans, even feeds on other zombies. The stronger the creature, the easier it is for it to become a zombie. That's why I have 1 trillion mosquitoes. Only one turns into a zombie, and usually mutated animals also hunt zombies. Then he notices something. Based on the numerous cuts on the body, it seemed like a zombie cat had done this. This was always one of the types he hated most since they had extremely sharp senses. If that creature was around, it probably already knew about him, so maybe he'd walked into a trap. He focuses, trying to notice if something's approaching. That's when something seems to alert him. The second he opens his eyes, he almost gets grabbed by the cat. He barely dodges and throws his boomerang sword. Not only was that a mutant creature, but it was also a boss. The creature had incredible agility and could create false images, reducing damage by 50%. It also had talents for a sharp attack and heightened vision. The list of attributes for this thing was long, and Lindsay knew this meant it would also give a good reward. Even though it was a difficult creature, he still had 10 years of experience fighting things like this. The hack system detected the zombie cat and gave him the mission to kill it. The mission was called the Ungrateful Zombie Kitty. That's because the gym used to rescue several cats from the city, but after the apocalypse started and one of them turned, it went on a killing spree. The mission would give him the same amount of experience as killing 100 level 1 zombies. Man, the true system kicked in, and then the hack system reactivated the mission, boosting the reward. Now instead of earning 100 XP, he would get 300, and he had 24 hours to complete it. He started finding it strange that this system was being so generous. Here remember that in the past life, the system was full of tricks. It always promised things would be easy, but when he got there, it was an invincible creature. At first, a 1% item drop chance didn't seem so unfair, but when people started forming groups, everyone realized the rewards were enough. However, he on the other hand was getting extremely good missions compared to normal. Obviously, he accepted it. He had 24 hours to kill this ungrateful cat, which was calmly licking its paw. He knew this animal was a counterattack specialist, so he couldn't just charge in. So he sat down, pulled out his phone, and started reading a manual. When he laughed, the cat lost its temper, stood up, and jumped at him. At the same moment, Lindsay also stood up and jumped back, dodging the attack. He transformed his phone into a katana, and the cat retreated, but then it came at him again. Once again, he dodged and found an opening to strike its back, but the cat smiled, saying that although he was clever, he never imagined it already knew his moves. It dodged again, but our boy found a chance to cut its claws. Immediately, the cat said it wouldn't forgive him for hurting it like that. But our boy just said that without claws, it couldn't win. Suddenly, the cat activated an eye ability. Our boy knew that would pull him into an illusion. He found himself in another world with a giant cat full of limbs on its face. But for him, who had lived 10 years in an apocalypse, this was nothing. The cat was confused that the boy wasn't scared. Our boy slashed its eye, breaking the illusion. At that moment, the creature tried to flee. But of course, he wasn't going to let escape. He threw his boomerang sword, whipping it in the neck, and the boss was killed. Immediately, he completed the mission, gained a ton of experience, leveled up, and even earned an achievement. Everyone in the city was trying to figure out who this guy was, receiving announcements all the time. The author thinks it's cool to have a girl saying she wants to marry him. Even though she doesn't know